In fact, I would actually claim that any devout follower of pretty much any moral system is a masochist. Greetings, this is Eugene the Philosopher, the greatest living philosopher after the unfortunate passing of Quentin Robert D. Nameland, who has been the greatest living philosopher before me. In this video, as I've promised some weeks ago, I will talk about why honor and morality in general is a flex. Well, and let's just start right into it. So I'll claim that honor and any morality in general is a flex because it makes you predictable, and therefore it makes you vulnerable. People know what you're up to, people know what you are going to do because this is established by the morality system itself that you follow. For example, you give some promises, then you have to keep them because your morality forces you to keep these promises. So people know what to expect of you, and at the same time, you have to abide, you have to provide, you have to stand and deliver, so to speak, to keep those promises. And pretty much everyone else can take advantage of that. Let's say they can take a promise out of you or from you, whatever the saying is, and then you have to keep it, all right? But then again, you are strong, so you don't care. So again, you flex by giving a promise, especially if it's a very hard promise to keep. You give it, and then you say, I'm strong enough to actually keep it. So you flex in this way. And society loves it because, well, it can build itself around you. So you are almost, again, like a robot. You're very predictable if you follow the morality system. So the society looks at the morality system and it can tell, well, this guy is going to do this and this and this and this because they abide the morality system. So we can almost like they read your text specifications. They know what to expect of you. You're completely predictable, and therefore everyone else can rely on you. You're like a stone to build a society from, something like that. So, yeah. And so, as I've said, like society loves it for the reasons I've just described, but you love it as well, adhering to the morality system, because, again, it shows you yourself your own strength. It's a handicap, if you wish, but the one that shows your strength inherently. So, think about this, I don't know, like, whatever, some fantasy kung fu movie where, like a kung fu master would say, I'll beat you with just one hand, they put their arm behind their back and they're like, psh! And the other guy just flies away like, I don't know, 10 meters. So it's a flex, right? You're handicapped, you're fighting with one arm only, but you're still so strong, you're so masterful that you can beat the opponent anyway. So, and this is the kind of handicap that morality is. You're deliberately putting shackles onto yourself and thrive despite of that, alright? So obviously it's a borderline heroic actually undertaking, or stupid you might say, where of course the line between heroism and stupidity is a very blurry one, if there is a line even, right? Okay, but anyway, you might also argue that this, considering morality in this light as a flex, it also could be perceived as a tool of removal of weak men, actually. Like, I'm mostly gonna talk about men because, again, men are the creatures of honor and morality and things like that. Treat this as you will. Or at least some. Let's put it this way. Some men, alright? That's good enough, actually. That's much better, actually. So, yeah, so it's a tool for removal of weak men, and in what sense? It actually, almost you might say, an evolutionary tool, the morality, that is. Because, again, handicapping yourself represents a challenge. It's like this proverbial dragon waiting to be beaten. And you have to be obviously strong enough to beat the dragon, to keep your promises, to obey the morality system, to wear this huge, sack of requirements or whatever, to drag it with you. So weak men either don't take this risk, so they don't adhere to morality system in the first place, so they're kind of immoral. They're kind of like, like little rats, so to speak. or they do adhere to a morality system, but since they are weak, not strong enough to carry it, they die because of it, right? So that's why kind of that's a double-edged sword, both edges of which remove weak men, right? So the society should cherish moral men, because immoral men are either weak, like, okay, let's put it in a different way, like, you get the idea, right? Men should be encouraged to follow morality system, because if they're strong enough, they can thrive anyways. If they're weak, they will die out, even when they follow the morality system. And if they are weak, so they don't follow the morality system, well, you're cherishing only the moral people in the first place, right? So the weak men also wouldn't have any privileges, so to speak. So yeah, it's almost an evolutionary tool in this respect. So there are two obvious ways how morality brings, let's say, positive feelings to people. So one obvious way is the societal approval. So you might say, well, I mean, when you are following some morality system, you might say, well, I'm a moral person, society can see that, and therefore, again, they will cherish that. So I may, like, climb the hierarchy of some sorts because I'm so moral, like, people would try to put me in whatever good positions, etc. So there is that. So you feel this warmth that the herd is with you, the society is supporting you. And another way is personal approval. So basically, when you are following some morality system, you are essentially strengthening your own values, like, because, well, if you follow this morality system, supposedly your own value system is in accord with it, and therefore you're kind of being true to yourself, staying true to yourself, if you know what I mean. Like, you're manifesting your own value system with your own actions, which is kind of cool. So your own self-esteem, self-respect, all of that gives you additional positive emotions from this, all right? But in this video specifically, when I talk about honor and morality as a flex, just as I've said, it's a handicap that you put yourself in or whatever, and you thrive despite of it, right? So I want to emphasize this deeper and darker aspect of morality, this pure power aspect, you might say, which also gives you positive feelings, right? Because again, following a morality system, especially a very demanding one, is like lifting heavy weight, if you wish, and like rejoicing at your own strength because you can lift it. So yeah, and there's a pretty curious loophole here for entry of things like pride and vanity, which are sins, all right, at least in many religious traditions. Well, you can maybe even build a sort of like a theatrical play on that. I don't know. That would be an interesting thing. But yeah, certainly following morality, like devotedly, I don't know, like by the letter, so to speak, is actually kind of a thing for, you know, almost like a necessary, like the necessary conclusion from that would be like pride, right, or vanity. Like vanity would be rather a prerequisite, but something to that effect. And it's a very interesting dynamic, a very dark dynamic again. And as I've said, there is a definite masochistic pleasure in this handicapping and thriving despite of it, all right? In fact, I would actually claim that any devout follower of pretty much any moral system is a masochist, by necessity, you might say. Again, because it's essentially, like I've said many times before, like on the nature of masochistic pleasure in my video Bad Ending, for example, that it's overcoming difficulties, essentially, like overcoming pain, like feeling yourself thrive despite all the pain. Like you feel so strong that, I mean, the pain kind of allows you to feel strong because it shows you that even despite the horrible pain, you're not destroyed. Therefore, it means that you must have been very strong to thrive through this pain, right? So, and then the same goes for a morality system. Alright, but what if we want to get rid of morality? Like, the main point of this video is long gone, by the way. It's like, I've already said it. So, goodbye. But if you're still there, let's talk about it some more. So, what about, like, straying away from morality? Like, can we actually get rid of it? Well, then we come to the land of immorality. Dun, 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 dun. So, as I've already said, like, you might be too weak to carry on with the regular morality. So, well, by regular morality, I mean, whatever culture you've born and raised in, right? This type of morality. You may be too weak to actually follow it. Then you're kind of pushed a little bit to the immoral lands. But on the other hand, and this is the case of described by Nietzsche, right? You might be too strong to actually follow the morality system. It might be too limiting for you in not in the sense of handicapping. It's like too uninteresting. Like, you are actually so strong that even this masochistic pleasure that other people get from morality, you don't even feel the pain. You know, it's like tickling for you or something like that. But anyway, for whatever reason, if we come to the land of immorality, obviously the society and like ourselves, like internalized society in us, like what was the Freudian term for this? Like superego, was it? Probably, I don't know. But it perceives this as sacrilege, right? You shouldn't actually get rid of morality. It's kind of bad. This is kind of the point of morality, right? It gives you both the carrot and a stick. So if you stray away, it gives you a stick. It says, no, don't do that, please. Actually, you might perhaps derive a masochistic pleasure from getting rid of morality, and that this is kind of the masochistic pleasure that the strong, immoral people have, I think. That's why they stray away from morality. But, yeah, we wouldn't talk about this too much. So anyway, straying away from the herd into the unknown, into these uncharted waters, so to speak. This feeling that I'm on my own, right? We're on our own. Like, there's no beacons of light anywhere. We have to navigate, I don't know, by using whatever, nothing really, because we have no more, we don't have morality anymore. We don't have this positive reinforcement from the society, neither from the society nor from our own intrinsic self, because there is still no morality to give it this to us. Even, you know, this second part, this intrinsic self-esteem type of boost. Yet, at least. So, as you can probably see from this example, by necessity, we would need a morality system anyway. Like, even if we stray away from the mainstream morality of whatever society we're raised in, we would still have to develop our own morality, in order to actually exist. Again, I'm returning to my, was it previous or the one before, like a couple of weeks ago, video about worldview, right? Where I talk about how science is not a worldview. And what is a worldview? Like, what's the difference? Well, a worldview has to have an ethical component, a moral component. And this is exactly what I'm talking about here, specifically about values, right? You have to have a system of values, and the morality system is kind of like a practical emanation of a value system, you might say. So, yeah, until you establish that, you're kind of lost, right? That's kind of the problem. And you have to establish it at some point. Like, if you're neglecting, like, the regular morality, you have to establish your own. There's just no way around it, or everything just devolves into complete chaos. And you've probably heard this expression, reevaluation of values, which was again coined by Nietzsche. So, can we actually simply produce such a moral system, like a new one? Like, if we leave the old one, can we actually just ourselves produce a new one? By our own desire, you might say. Well, it's a good question, actually. And how stable would it be? How much of a fluke would it represent is another good question. Because, well, obviously the old morality has been proven, at least the society has existed for some length of time by utilizing it. It has been proven to work, while this one, the new one, whatever it is that we're going to establish, is not yet proven, in air quotes, obviously. So, in a way, whoever establishes such a new system, by necessity, again, must be the first to prove it on their own skin, by their own example. They have to prove that it works. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fully established, I would say. Like, they have to embody it with their own life path. And this is actually like the legend, right, behind all of the, like, great religions, how they start. Well, there was a guy who did this thing, and then we kind of started following, like, copying this guy by doing the same thing, ultimately. So it makes sense, right? So since these morality systems have been established some time ago, well, the chances are new morality systems could be established later on by the same mechanism, by the same, like, algorithm, you might say. So I think that, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. All right, but this is the ultimate challenge for a man, on the other hand, right? Like, what are men essentially needed to do, like, universally, pretty much, in all the societies? Well, there are really two things, I think, that a man needs to do, like, that the men are valued for, let's put it this way. One is building, whatever it is, like, actually physically building something, or in a metaphorical sense, like, you know, building a society, building a family, building something, creating something, you might say. Again, in terms of, like, creativity, right? So one thing is building, and another thing is leading other people, other men specifically, but people in general. And creating your own morality system is both of these things. You're essentially building a society, or at least you're creating a mold to, you know, cast the new society into and create it. So you're a builder, and you're also a leader, because you show an example and you say, well, this is our new morality, this is how we're gonna behave. So yeah, this is the ultimate thing. Like, this is the like the Superman challenge, I don't know, for any man, is to create his own morality system, I believe. And again, he would be judged by the amount of people, or by the amount of power that this morality system encompasses, by the amount of people that it can be applied to, right? Which is a good measure, I would say. All right, and curiously, by the way, you can also judge this, like, this very process of creating the new morality system, through old morality. Again, this, whatever classical morality you adhere to. For example, the cardinal virtues of Plato, who said that, what are these? There are four of them, right? The prudence, there is justice, fortitude, and temperance. And you need all of that to establish a new morality system. Isn't that beautiful, actually? So paradoxically, getting rid of morality in favor of some new morality firstly requires you excelling at the old morality. So that's why I'm saying that, well, it's another case of this self-overcoming. As I've said, that a scientist essentially overcomes himself and becomes, like, I don't know, uber scientist, right? Or a Christian would, just as Nietzsche himself said, overcomes himself if he adheres to Christian values. He figures out that Christianity is kind of BS. And scientist, by the same token, figures out that science is kind of BS. And by the same token, the moral person would figure out that the morality is kind of BS and establish their own morality, which other people would follow. And then somebody else would tell, well, this morality is also BS, and they'll create some new one. All right. And the cycle continues. So yeah, turns out you can only break the rules if you're strong enough to obey them perfectly in the first place. And that's why obeying the rules perfectly, i.e. being an honorable or moral person, is a flex. Thank you for watching. The eons are closing. If you wish to support me, please consider joining my Patreon. That is patreon.com/philosopher. See the link in the description. Or if you have a scientific theory of your own and you'd like my help in developing it, please join my alternative science coaching program, also available through Patreon.